Tasmai Shri Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaganalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namavom Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Vitarine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktarunda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Girim Yatrapadamaham Bande Shri Gurum Dinadarinam Hare Krishna. So we are studying Srimad Bhagavatam. We are in second canto. So first chapter we just started. So we'll just go through some recap. Hope you all had good Kartik Yatra, good experiences. And of course you are in good health, I hope, after Yatra, long Yatra. And I'll just share the screen. So we completed first canto. We are in second canto, first chapter. We did 6 verses. But let us go through once again the summary of the first chapter, and then we will do some recap of the first verses. Can someone read the summary, Kathasar?
Srimad Bhagavatam Canto 2, verse 1.4, 1 to 6. Shukadev Goswami describes Maharaj Parikshit's question as glorious and beneficial to all. People who are too attached to materialistic life and family are Grahamedhis. He describes their symptoms and then points out one's actual duty to hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead. This will lead to perfection of life.
Yeah. So after the first canto, 18 and 19 chapters, we discussed how Parikshit Maharaj was cursed, and later on he came to the banks of Yamuna, and then he requested Parikshit Maharaj. Of course, he welcomed, he received, and then he asked the glorious questions. And then we have seen how Parikshit Maharaj, how Sukadeva Goswami started replying to the questions of Parikshit Maharaj, which are all beneficial to all and exclusively in relation to the Supreme Lord. Yeah, 7 to 13.
Sukadeva Goswami cites his own life as an example to demonstrate how even the topmost transcendentalists take pleasure in describing the glories of the Lord. Sukadeva Goswami will now recite that very Srimad Bhagavatam he heard from his father for Maharaj Parikshit. He recommends the process of constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord for all. whether one is free from desires, desirous, or self-satisfied, and cites the story of Maharaj Khatwang to demonstrate that even a moment of full consciousness can bring perfection of life.
Next, 14 to 21.
Hare Krishna. Verse
Yes, ma'am.
14 to 21. Shukdev Goswami recommends detachment from material life and fear of death. One should leave home and practice self-control in a sacred place, bathing regularly. Sitting alone, one should chant the Pranava mantra, Omkar, and the mind will become progressively spiritualized. Thereafter, one can progress to meditation on the form of Vishnu and come to the level of devotional service.
Yeah, here as what is the best process and what is the most suitable process for the dying man? That's what Parishit Maharaj questions. What is the best duty, main duty for all in general, and especially for a man in specific, the dying man? That was the questions asked by Parishit Maharaj. So Sukadeva Goswami is replying to these questions. And the first 15 verses, 14 verses talk about the path of bhakti. That's what Parishit Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami also recites Srimad Bhagavatam. He's going to recite because that is the essence. That is the process to remember the Lord. That is the main duty. That's what Parishit Sukadeva Goswami concludes. For everyone to serve the Lord, to glorify the Lord, to remember the Lord is the duty of everyone in general, even in specific also for a dying man especially. That is the conclusion of Sukadeva Goswami. So that's what he establishes in 14 verses. But still there was some other opinions in the audience, because Sukadeva Goswami is speaking to Parishit Maharaj. And also there are many audience. There are so many sages, as we have seen in 19th chapter. So many sages came from all over the universe, not only one planet. So there were many opinions about the duty of a person in general and in specific who is going to die. So to address those opinions, Sukadeva Goswami brings different paths to compare with bhakti, so that to establish later on that bhakti is the process for everyone. So that will be established by Sukadeva Goswami. So that's why he brings the topic of yoga. That's why here we have seen here the practice of self-control in sacred place, bathing regularly, all the chanting of pranava, and all coming here. So of course this summary is given by based on Prabhupada purports. As we know that Prabhupada always concludes, he always gives the process of bhakti. Just like in Bhagavad Gita, though karma yoga in 3rd chapter, 4th chapter Jnana yoga, 5th chapter karma yoga in action, those all talk about these yogas, karma, nishkam karma, sakam karma and all. But Prabhupada in conclusion brings to bhakti on, because he always wants to give the essence. Generally some devotees say that they are confused by the purports of Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita or in other places also, when the text is saying something, but Prabhupada concludes with bhakti. So it's not a confusing, but it's a concluding, because Prabhupada wants to always give the essence immediately. Whoever comes in contact with the books, especially we are going through book marathon right now. So the books of Prabhupada gives the essence immediately. Whoever reads, wherever he reads, he will come to understand immediately what is the essence. Of course, our acharyas explained what text also mean. If you go through the acharyas purports and all, we will understand what text is saying and how this is in relation to karma or nishkama or jnana or yoga. So we understand in a full perspective as well, in depth. But Prabhupada's way of presentation is he comes to the conclusion as a bhakti. So So the summary is in relation to bhakti process. So that's why here it's mentioned that thereafter one can progress on the meditation form of Vishnu, come to the level of devotional service. So the purports are mainly focused on coming to bhakti as the goal. But we will see the context as well. So the summary is based on Prabhupada purports. And of course, we will see the context also. Okay. Okay, we'll pause maybe till we will see how much we can cover. Today we are planning to cover at least till 25 verses, 25, 26 in first chapter, where a major section will be covered till 28. So as I mentioned that the first 15 verses where Sukadeva Goswami establishes the process of, he answers the questions and he establishes bhakti, remembrance of Krishna, chanting glories of Krishna is the topmost process. And then he comes to the next topic of yoga, Ashtanga yoga from text 15. So we covered till 6 verses. I'll just go through maybe some recap. First invocation is there, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, where Prabhupada introduces the topic of first canto. He summarizes the first canto, and then second canto he establishes how it's about process of creation, the cosmic manifestation. Second canto he names this as the cosmic manifestation, because the creation aspects also are explained later on. And I gives the summary of 19th chapter here. So first verse is about glorification of questions. Varyan eshate prashnaha. Because why? Kruto lokahitam trapa. They are all beneficial to everyone, all kinds of people. So that was even approved by Atmavita Sammata Pumsam. This is approved by not by foolish people. The questions are approved by Atmavid Sammataha, those who are transcendentalists, approved by all transcendentalists. Shrotavyadishu Apara, the topmost in hearing subject matter. So Parikshit Maharaj, Sukadeva Goswami was so pleased. He almost went into ecstasy just by hearing the questions. That's why Acharya's comment that Sukadeva Goswami was so happy that he just started answering the questions only. He almost kind of forgot to offer prayers to the Lord. Just before class, generally we offer prayers to seeking the blessings of all the Acharyas and the Lord. So that offering prayers of by Sukadeva Goswami comes in 4th chapter in the 2nd canto. First 3 chapters, 1 to 3, is he was so pleased and happy and ecstatic by hearing the question. So he glorified bhakti only immediately. So the bhakti is established in first 3 chapters. The glory of bhakti is established in first 3 chapters of 2nd canto. So that's what Sukadeva Goswami is doing. And the 4th chapter he offers is Pranam Mantra to the Lord. So that was the first verse. And then second verse, he also says the same thing about the questions. Shrota Vyadini Rajendra Ram Santi Sahasrasa. Aprishatam Atmatatvam Gruheshu Gruhamedinam. So now he's connecting 2 questions were asked. Of course, in specific 3 questions. 2 questions about what is the duty of a man in general and in specific dying man. And the second question was, what should be heard, what should be glorified, what should be remembered. So that was his question in text 38, I think, in the first canto, 19th chapter. I'll just see the question. 38 question, yeah. Yashrotavyam nato japyam yat kartavyam drubih prabhu smartavyam bhajaniyam va bruhi yad va viparyayam. Yeah. I'll just read the translation. Please let me know what a man should hear, chant, remember, and worship, and also what he should not do Please explain all this to me. So this was the second question. Second question in that sense. So Sukadeva Goswami first answering that question, what should not be viparyayam, that is explained here. What should not be chanted, what should not be remembered, what should not be glorified. What should not be glorified? The materialistic life should not be chanted, should not be remembered, should not be materialistic enjoyment, materialistic life. That should not be the goal of life. That was mentioned by Sukadeva Goswami initially now. So second verse till fifth verse, 3-4 verses, he condemns the whole materialistic life. So this should not be goal of life. That was explaining to Parishit Maharaj, who is about to leave the body. So he's saying that materialistic life should not be the goal of at least human beings. That's what establishes in text 2 to text 5. Prabhupada purports are quite emphatic on this point of how human life should not be wasted in just sleeping, eating, mating, and defending. All this for ahar, nidra, bhai, maithunam. They should not be happen in human life. That was. And also one should not be illusioned by all this deha pattaka tradishu atma shaineshu asatsapi esham pramatto nidhanam pashyan labina pashyati. So we should not be illusioned by all these fallible soldiers like body, children, and wife. Of course, Prabhupada also explains how when they are connected to Krishna, definitely they will support our spiritual life. But if they are not, then they are fallible soldiers. They, though they may appear to be like soldiers who are protecting the fort, but they are not. They cannot, because they are fallible. So that's why he concludes, Tasmad Bharat Sarvatma Bhagavan Ishvaro Harihi Shrotavyah Kititavyascha Smartavyaschetabhayam. So one who desires to be free from all miseries must hear about, glorify, and also remember the personality of Godhead, who is the super soul, the controller, the savior of all miseries. So he establishes, therefore, so we should, the conclusion, tasmad, conclusion, we need to give up the path of karma, path of enjoyment, but take up bhakti. Bhakti means 9 process of devotional service. We should always remember when we talk about bhakti term, when we hear, should immediately we should reflect in terms of 9 process of devotional service. Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam. Bhakti means these 9. This is Swarupa Shakti of the Lord, bhakti. All these 9 process of devotional service. So that should be the goal. That should be the essence. That's what he establishes. So whether it is only for a devotees, or is it universal, the path of bhakti, the remembrance of the Lord, the glorification of the Lord. Now Sukadeva Goswami is saying, not just for devotees, for everyone. Etavan Sankhya Yoga Bhyam, Swadharma Parinistaya, Janmalabha Parapumsam, Ante Narayana. Whoever it may be, whether it's Sankhya, if it's yoga, or it's karma. Karma here in the sense that Swadharma. Swadharma Parinishta means it's karma yoga. So all these people, Ante Narayana Smriti, Etavan Janmala, Etavan, for all these, Janmalabha, Parahpumsam, that is the highest Janmalabha of all these people. Sankhya, Yoga, Dharma, Ante Narayana Smriti. The end should be the remembrance of the Lord. So we discussed that the end means either the end of all these processes like karma, jnana, yoga. End of all this process should be the bhakti. Also, the end of life. Either way, in 2 ways. Srila Swami says about end of life should be remembrance of the Lord. Antakale mameva smaran mukta kalevaram. So end of life should be remembrance of the Lord. And also, all this process also, either karma or jnana, yoga, whoever is practicing all this, the process should come to the end conclusion that bhakti is the end of all process also. They have to come to the bhakti process later on. Otherwise, it is not the final goal. They will not achieve the perfection without bhakti. So that is the main conclusion. So I'll just share one of the main concepts that we need to understand, especially in bhakti in connection with other processes, so that we understand what exactly is going on here from textual point of view. I just made small one slide. I'll just share. So this is the one of the philosophical understandings of, one of the philosophical understanding about the different process and bhakti in connection. This we need to very much understand and always remember what exactly we are following. So you might have already went through in Bhagavad Gita Bhakti Shastri courses, but just to give an overview. So these are particular paths that we have: Sakam Karma, Nishkam Karma, Jnana, Stanga and Bhakti, and their particular sadhana, Abhideya sadhana process, and their sadhya, the prayojan, the goal. So Sakam Karma, generally they have to follow Varnashram Dharma, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanprastha, Sannyasa, Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. Their particular duty, Varnashram, especially Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. So these they have to particularly identify and they have to follow their rules and regulations. And generally their goal is Swarga, enjoyment. Nishkam Karma Yogis, they also have Varnashram Dharma, but their goal is Atma Jnana. So Nishkama, they don't aspire for the result. They don't seek any kind of a result. Phala, Nishkam. So then they will achieve Jnana. Knowledge will come only when we are detached from the result. Otherwise, even in Bhakti also, the more we are attached to results, or we are aspiring for some material results, then it will be difficult to perceive the effects of Bhakti. Prabhupada always gives the example of fire and water. If the fire is there, if you are cooking, like especially, I don't know whether you have experience in the Yatra also, we have a small cooking. Prabhupada Day, we have cooking. So in fire chula, in wooden, in a wood fire. So if you keep on putting the dry wood, then it will burn very nicely. If you add fuel of dry wood, but then next day you add water, then immediately the fire will put off. It will not burn. Will not achieve the effect of fire cooking. So similarly, the more we have material desires, though we are practicing, then it will be very difficult to perceive the effects of any process, especially Nishkam Karma and even all other processes also. That's why in Gita, we always see detachment from the phala. The result is very much stressed. Yeah, that the material result should not be too much contaminating our process. So then only the jnana, atma jnana knowledge will rise when we have detachment from the material desires. So the jnana yoga people, they mostly focused on Vedanta study, atma jnana, the different discrimination, vipashitaha. So the Krishna also says in second chapter of Bhagavad Gita, vipashitaha, but the verse says that I will remember the exact words, but these even Vipashita people, those who are discriminating between the matter and spirit, even their senses also can be distracted. So, but still, these people keep on trying based on Shastra, based on scriptures, They keep on discriminating, neti, neti, what is spirit, what is matter, and their goal is moksha. And Ashtanga Yoga people is most focused on yama, nima, their sadhana, and they generally their goal is also moksha, but sometimes who are little more personal and who are influenced by the personal form of the Lord, bhakti process, they can also get into Shantaraja or Salokya in Vaikuntha. But if they are attached to only impersonal Brahman, their goal is moksha. But bhakti means Shravanam Kirtanam is the main process, and the prema is the goal. So these are the main fundamental understandings of different paths and their sadhana, abhideya, and their prayojans. Of course, all paths, especially Nishkam, Jnana, and Ashtanga Yoga, Karma, Jnana, and Yoga, they have to have some mixture of bhakti, even to achieve their Atma Jnana or Moksha, liberation, Brahmajyoti, or merging in Brahmajyoti. Even if they want to merge in Brahmajyoti, they have to have some understanding and some process of bhakti has to be added. Otherwise, they cannot get the result. That is the main fundamental understanding. Bhakti has to be there in all the processes. That's what our acharyas exclusively focus on, mention about other paths. When it comes to achieve the results, even to achieve result of moksha, they have to have understanding of little bhakti and practice of bhakti. Though they may not be attracted to the personal form, but they have to have understanding. So that is the main understanding from different paths. So I'll just explain while going through here what we are going through, where it comes the main. So when we come to 15th verse, there onwards, the Bhakti Mixture Yoga is explained. The yoga process is explained. So, but anyway, but everyone has to come to this understanding that Ante Narayana Smriti, remembrance of the Lord, glorifying the Lord. That is in actuality also, it's not only it's beneficial for them to achieve their goal also, but it's more relatable also. That will be explained by Sukadeva Goswami himself in coming verses. The examples for this principle will be explained later in the coming verses. So yeah, Ante Narayana Smriti. The goal is Narayana Smriti. Ante Narayana Smriti. Janmalabha Parapomsam Ante Narayana Smriti. That is the 6th verse. Okay, we'll start with 7th verse from today. Prayena Maniyo Rajan Nivritta Vidyasetataha Nairgunyastharamante Sma Gunanukatane Harehe. Please read translation.
O King Parikshit, mainly the topmost transcendentalists who are above the regulative principles and restrictions take pleasure in describing the glories of the Lord.
So, who all? Is it universal? Is it specific? Who all can take pleasure? Prayana Maniyo Rajan. Yeah, this was explained. Everyone takes pleasure. So, any examples for the principle told in 6th Ante Narayana Smriti? Are there any examples? Yeah. The 7th and 8th verses are saying about different examples. Topmost transcendentalists, they take pleasure in describing the glories of the Lord. They are not only remembering the Lord, but also release the glories of the Lord. So the topmost transcendentalists, they take pleasure in remembering the Lord, in releasing the glories of the Lord. So who are all them? Any examples? Yeah, examples are given. Just like Yogendras, they come in 11th canto. They were followers of yoga. They became devotees. They're releasing the Lord's glories. And the followers of karma, Prachina Barhi in 4th canto, it will come by he was transformed into devotee by association of Nardamani. He was taking glory. He was chanting the glories of the Lord later on. Karma process. He was very much attached to karma. Prachina Barhi. And the 4 Kumaras, they are the followers of Jnana. They were also very much later on relishing the glories of the Lord. We will hear in third canto the story of Kumaras. So these are all different examples of karma, jnana, and yoga. And especially Sukadeva Goswami himself, he himself will come in the 8th verse, he will say that I am also was very much attached to impersonal Brahman. But when I heard about the Supreme Lord, I was very much touched. So that was explained. So these verses will give the proof.
Krishna, I think Prabhuji got disconnected. He's got.
Seven. So we are in text 7 where Sukadeva Goswami is giving different proofs for what the principle is told in verse 6. Etavan Sankhya Yoga Abhyam Swadharma Parinestaya Janmalava Parapumsa. So yeah, many self-realized sages situated beyond the 3 modes, Narigunyasta, take pleasure in Harikatha. So that's what mentioned in 7th verse. Can someone read purport? First para. Is there with you, purport?
I'll share the screen. The topmost transcendental is a liberated soul and is therefore not within the purview of the regulative principles. A neophyte who is intended to be promoted to the spiritual plane is guided by the spiritual master under regulative principles. He may be compared to a patient who is treated by various restrictions under medical jurisdiction. Generally, liberated souls also take pleasure in describing the transcendental activities. As mentioned above, since Narayan Hari, the personality of Godhead, is beyond the material creation, his form and attributes are not material. The topmost transcendentalists or the liberated souls realize him by advanced experience of transcendental knowledge, and therefore they take pleasure in the discussion of the transcendental qualities of the Lord's pastimes. Do I continue, Prabhuji?
Recording in progress. Yeah.
In Bhagavad Gita 4.9, the personality of Godhead declares that his appearance and activities are all divyam or transcendental. The common man who is under the spell of material energy takes it for granted that the Lord is like one of us, and therefore he refuses to accept the transcendental nature of the Lord's form, name, etc. The topmost transcendentalist is not interested in anything material and is taking interest in the matter of the Lord's activities is definite proof the Lord is not like one of us in the material world. In the Vedic,
continue this one.
In the Vedic literatures also, it is confirmed that the Supreme Lord is one, but that he is engaged in his transcendental pastimes in the company of his unalloyed devotees, and that simultaneously he is present as the super soul, an expansion of Baldev in the heart of all living entities. Therefore, the highest perfection of transcendental realization is to take pleasure in hearing and describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord and not in merging into his impersonal Brahman existence.
Yeah, here Prabhupada is focusing on how the form of the Lord is topmost than the Brahman realization also. So his impersonal existence, all these people, as we mentioned, that can we make me host on his group? I will share.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So as this text is saying that Prabhupada focused on how the Supreme Personality form is exclusively glorified than the impersonal Brahman realization. So that form of the Lord is so blissful, so enchanting, that even the transcendentalists, as mentioned by Sankhya or Yoga or Gyanis, those who are aspiring for moksha means generally they are trying to absorb in Brahman, that Brahman realization. Even they also take pleasure in the form of the Lord. So that's the glory of bhakti. So the bhakti is so glorious. Even these transcendentalists are being attracted by the transcendent form of the Lord. That's what this verse is saying. And Prabhupada is focusing on that point, that how the form of the Lord is the superior form than impersonal realization. So the text 7 is saying superiority of supreme form of the Lord than Brahman realization. I'll just share the screen. So that's what.
In the translation, it is a Nairgunyastha. They say
Correct.
transcendent situated, but they do not specifically say impersonalists.
Yeah, correct. But the process is generally Prayana Muniyo Rajan, Munaya, or Naigunyastha, or Sankhya Yoga. Last verse, 6 verse is saying about Sankhya and Yoga and Swadharmanistha. All these people, as we have seen, their goal is generally Brahman in general. Unless they get association of the Lord, association of the devotees of the Lord. General goal is moksha, merging in Brahman. That's why the word is used prayana. Generally, prayana means almost. Most of the transcendent place. Means that Prabhupada also mentions in the end of the purport that they will not discuss the pastimes of the Lord. I think it will come in next verse. Also, here also Prabhupada mentioned, you see. See, the highest perfection of transcendental relation is to take pleasure in hearing, describing the transcendental qualities of the Lord, not in merging into his personal Brahman existence, for which the impersonal monist aspires. So generally, they are inclined towards merging, though Nairgunyastha is mentioned. So the verse is saying Nairgunyastha, they also take pleasure. But Prabhupada is mentioning, but there are also others who are not the topmost transcendentalists, but are in lower status and who do not take pleasure in describing the transcendental activities of the Lord. Rather, they discuss such activities of the Lord formally with the aim of merging into existence. So that cases are kept aside in this verse by saying the prayana. We hear this word prayana means almost all will take pleasure when they come in touch with devotees of the Lord. So they have great feelings towards personality of the Lord, but still some are not inclined towards these things also. Just like we hear one or two stories from Chaitanya Charitamrita also, wherein Lord Chaitanya, when Raghunath Bhatta Goswami was traveling from Varanasi to Puri, one Ram Mishra came in touch with him. So one Ram Mishra Bhakta came in touch with, he appears to be Ram Bhakta, He was serving the Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. He was crying tears. He was showing so much of devotion to Lord Ram. But when both of them came to Puri, when they offered obeisances to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu didn't even look at Ram Mishra. So Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami there he explains that this person, though he appears to be Ram Bhakta, chanting Lord Ram's names 24 hours, but he has a great desire to merge or become Lord Ram. That's what the explanation is given. Why Lord Chaitanya is acting the way he is acting. He is not at all even recognizing, acknowledging the personality who is present next to Raghunath Bhatta Goswami. So there are people who are like that. Even Devanand Pandit, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu rejected his teachings to his students, he was explaining Srimad Bhagavatam, Devanand Pandit. But Lord Chaitanya tore off his Srimad Bhagavatam, saying that this fellow doesn't understand what Srimad Bhagavatam is. That was his impersonal conception. So there are some persons, but the word here, Nairgunyastha, as you mentioned, so though it's not exactly mentioning, Prabhupada translate transcendentally situated, said. Nairgunya actually means, the word says, is beyond gunas. Nairgunya, guna, he is beyond the gunas. So they are transcendentally situated. They can be as the verse is saying prayana, so they will be aspiring to merge. So that's what the verse itself is saying, as you mentioned. Many of the transcendentalists, they take pleasure, but some are not. That's what the prayana word indicates. Hope it.
So, Prabhuji, this is the section we should refer to if we have to show the superiority of bhakti over all other processes. So, this is the section of bhakti.
Correct. It will come. 2-3 verses will come. You can show. And also in first canto, also you might have seen where Sukadeva Swami is saying, Ittam Bhuta Guno Hari, Atma Ramasya Manayo. That verse spoken, that is the main verse of Sukadeva Goswami. Nirgandrapi urukrame, Parvanti ahetukim bhakti ittam bhuta guno hari. So that was, and this section is a main verses to understand ourselves also and to speak to others also, where even the transcendentalists take pleasure in the glorification of the Lord, in the relishment of the transcendental name, form, qualities, and pastimes of the Lord. They are attracted to. And many examples also given. Yeah, this section is very good section. Hope making some sense. Okay, we'll continue. Text 8. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Puranam Brahma Samhitam Aditavan Dvaparado Piturdvaipayanataham. Please read translation.
At the end of the Dwapar Yuga, I studied this great supplement of the Vedic literature named Srimad Bhagavatam, which is equal to all the Vedas from my father Srila Dvaipayan Vyasadeva.
Yeah, please read the first para, underline.
Okay. The statement made by Srila Shukdev Goswami in the last verse that mainly the topmost transcendentalists who are beyond the jurisdiction of regulation and restrictions take to the task of hearing about the glorifying the personality of Godhead is verified by his personal example.
Yeah, he's saying that I myself is the example who relished. Though I was situated in Nairgunya, here also in the Atmaram verse also is mentioned Atmaram Aschamanayo. Nirgrandhapi urukrame. Nirgrandha. Grandha means bondage. Nirgrandha means they are liberated. Urukrame, Urukrama, the Lord's Urukrama, pastimes of the Lord, who does great activities, chivalrous activities, Urukrama. Nirgrandrapi Urukrame, Kurvanti ahitukim bhakti, ittam bhuta guno hari. They are attracted, Atma Ramas are attracted to the qualities of the Lord, pastimes of the Lord. So this verse is also in the same sense. Idam Bhagavatam Nama. In the sense that I heard Bhagavatam because it is describing the glories of the Lord from my father. That's what this verse is saying, establishing that he himself is the example. That's what Prabhupada, of course, focuses on, how we should not hear from, whom we should not hear from, and whom we should hear from. Because Bhagavatam Prabhupada brings out that topic. Because Sukadeva Goswami heard from his father, how we should hear, how we should not hear, Prabhupada is focused. Medical books of anatomy or physiology are available in market, but no one can become a qualified medical practitioner simply by reading such books at home. So yeah, he's establishing the principle. We should hear in parampara. We should hear from authorized people, devotees. That's what he is mentioning. Although Sukadeva Goswami was liberated soul from very day of his birth, he still had to take lessons of Srimad Bhagavatam from his great father Vyasadeva, who compiled Srimad Bhagavatam under the instruction of another great soul, Sri Narada Muni. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu instructed a learned Brahmana to study Srimad Bhagavatam from a personal Bhagavata. Bhagavatiya Bhagavatstane. So that's our process. We are to hear from a person, bona fide person. So that's the principle of bhakti. So that was the main point of this verse, text 9. Parinistitopi nairgunya uttama shloka leelaya grihita chetasa rajarshe akyanam yad aditavan. Please read.
O saintly king, I was certainly situated perfectly in transcendence. Yet I was still attracted by the delineation of the pastimes of the Lord, who is described by enlightened voices.
Yeah, this verse also in same sense. So Parishit Maharaj may say that you didn't see, you are situated in transcendence. Means you didn't even wait for a moment after birth. He left for forest. You might have heard the story how he just after birth he was running into forest. Actually, he was not coming out of the womb after many months. Some say, I think Brahmavaivarta Purana says, I think 12 years. Some scriptures say, I think 16 years. He was there in the womb of his mother. He was not coming out, and Father Vasudeva is requesting, pleading, please come out. He said, only the Supreme Lord, who is Mayadhish, Krishna, when he comes, because Maya is under his control, only he can. When he assures me that I will not be bound by Maya, bondage, then only I will come out. So Vasudeva has to go to Dwaraka and request Krishna to come and give assurance to Sukadeva Goswami. So that was a beautiful description in Puranas that when Lord Krishna comes and gives assurance, then Sukadeva Goswami comes out. Even after coming out also, he just runs towards forest. So we hear in first canto, second chapter about how he was running towards forest and his father is calling out Putra. So that was beautiful narration comes there. The glory of Sukadeva Goswami. So that Sukadeva Goswami who was situated in transcendence, who was not at all disturbed or distracted by anything of this material world. That verse also comes in, I think, we have read in 19th chapter of first canto. Or I think in the 4th chapter, where when he was going towards forest, even he was not distracted or disturbed by the ladies who were bathing, but they were, when they saw that Vyasadeva, they came out and were putting on clothes. So that was the glory of Sukadeva Goswami. He was situated in transcendence, but still he was attracted to glories of the Lord. Uttama shloka leelaya. What the verse is saying, Uttama shloka leelaya. So he was very much attracted towards the glories of the Lord. So that's what a person like Sukadeva Goswami cannot be attracted by any mundane activity, but when such a devotee is convinced by a superior method, he is certainly attracted by transcendental activities of the Lord. The Lord is transcendental, as are his activities. He is neither inactive nor impersonal. So yeah, the wonderful pastimes of the Lord are in themselves are very much sweet and nectar, but still we are unable to be attracted. That's why that is our Durdaivam Idrisham Iha Nanija Naraga. So that's the misfortune of ours. We are not attracted so much because nectar of instruction explains because of avidya. What is the verse? Anyone remembers that NY text 7 says? What he says? Can anyone tell? Why we are not attracted to name, form, pastimes of the Lord? I gave the hint NY text 7.
Because we are suffering from jaundice, like in
No.
ignorance. We cannot taste. I think Prabhuji got disconnected again.
Are you able to hear?
Yes, Prabhuji, now we can hear.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Till when? It went off? When? Where were we?
I had replied, you had asked the question, NY verse.
Okay,
I had
okay.
replied and we could not hear. You were saying something, we could not hear that.
Okay. Okay, send a message. Okay. Yeah. The text 7 says that Shat Krishna Namacharita Sitapta Vidya Pittopataptarasanasya Rojikan Kintu Adarat Anudinam Kalusaiva Justva Swadikramat Bhavati Tatkata Mulahantri. So the text says that because of avidya, like a jaundiced person, the famous example of Prabhupada Goswami, we are unable to taste. But what to do? Yeah, he gives the solution also. He doesn't give us a blank statement. Okay, you are misfortune. No. Kintu adarat anudinam kalusaiva justva. Kintu adarat, with respect, anudinam, every day. Anudinam, also, always, every day, regularly. So we need to practice, keep on reading, hearing, chanting. Something is going on inside, definitely. So, just like titration, you might have done in your college days and school days, you might remember. Titration example of titration, some solution in burette and some solution in flask. So we keep on pouring the one titration solution into another. So we don't see any change in the solution below. So but there is a point comes drop by drop. So we keep on adding, we keep on chanting. So the day will come, the reaction will happen, and we clearly also see internally there is going on. Internally there is changes going on, but externally we are unable to see the titration end point. But the point comes, so we have to be patient. We keep on adding to our sadhana, adding to our sadachar, maintaining patience and dhairya, utsahat nishya dhairya. We will surely be attracted internally as well, in actuality. So we will have genuine taste for everything.
Prabhuji, you quoted one verse. So what is the source? I just, Anudina, you said, na, that verse little just 2 minutes back.
NY 7, Chat Krishna Namacharita.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so the text says that how we are unfortunate because of Vidya, but still we have great opportunity. Okay, text 10. Tadaham te abhidasyami mahapaurushiko bhavan yasya shraddadatam ashu syan mukunde mati sati. Please read. Translation.
Sachin Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Translation. That very Srimad Bhagavatam I shall recite before you because you are the most sincere devotee of Lord Krishna. One who gives full attention and respect to hearing Srimad Bhagavatam achieves unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord, the giver of salvation.
So, Ante Narayan Swati, that what started in text 5, the goal is to remember Krishna. And remember Krishna and relish his pastimes. For that, what to do? We have to recite Srimad Bhagavatam, read Srimad Bhagavatam, study Srimad Bhagavatam, because Srimad Bhagavatam is the essence of all the Vedic literature. So that's what established by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, and by Jiva Goswami in his Tattva Sandarbha. He analytically establishes of all the scriptures available currently, all the Vedic literature available, Srimad Bhagavatam is the best and is the most authentic book to approach for all the conclusions of the Vedanta and Vedanta Sutras also. It's a natural commentation of Vedanta Sutra. So that's Srimad Bhagavatam explains about Bhakti is the essence of Srimad Bhagavatam. So that's what Sukadeva Goswami is saying, that Srimad Bhagavatam, which establishes the Bhakti as the process, and the remembrance of Krishna is the essence of Bhakti, will be spoken by me to you. So that's what glory of Srimad Bhagavatam and the result of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is explained here. By hearing that, what will happen? Unflinching faith in the Supreme Lord will happen. So that's the goal of Bhakti. Faith, that unflinching faith transforms finally into prema. Shraddha, it starts with, finally, it's the same Shraddha builds and solidifies, and the Bhaktilata creeper, the faith seed, will be sown in our heart. And as we keep on pouring the water of hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, chanting the holy names every day, that sprouts and it becomes a plant. It starts giving up offshoots of leaves. This is explained by Vishnu Chakra Thakur. Then it's one day, all the stages of Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, Anardhani Vritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti. And then the flowers of Bhava, and then the fruit of Prema finally manifests. Prema means attraction, basically. Attraction towards the Lord, attraction towards spiritual aspects of the Lord. It will happen definitely. So that's but we have to keep on hearing and chanting, pouring the water of Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam. So Prabhupada, of course, the second canto, first canto, second canto, especially the second canto purports are very elaborate. You can go through leisurely, but Prabhupada very much given his essence in the first canto and second canto. This second canto is mainly when Prabhupada, in his initial years, 70, 71, 69, 70, started again his Bhagavatam purports. So he very much establishes the fact of our sadhana, how to approach towards sadhana, what is the establishment of sadhya. He always comes to the point of establishing sadhya, Krishna and bhakti. Krishna as the goal, as sadhya, prema bhakti, and sadhana, bhakti, as the process, Shravanam Kirtan. So how to hear, whom to hear, these are all very much established by Prabhupada in his purports. So because we don't have too much of, we have less time, but these purports are very good. Can you please read at least these two paras, highlighted region we will read.
Recitation and hearing are two processes out of 9 devotional activities. And by strenuously following these processes, either all of them or some of them, one can attain the absolute plane.
Yeah.
One who...
But Yeah, I'll just explain and you can read once again. So recitation and hearing, Kirtanam and Shravanam. Shravanam, Kirtanam are two processes of 9 devotional activities. Of all 9, Shravanam and Kirtanam. And by strenuously following these processes, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Shravanam is the foundation. We need to hear. You might have experienced also, when we hear, we are very much situated, the consciousness becomes so clear in at least for the time being, the moment, at least for the time we are hearing, we are very clear what is the goal, what is the process, what are the obstacles, where we are, how to move ahead. So this will become at least little clear when we are hearing, either Srimad Bhagavatam or whatever hearing that we are doing. And again, the moment we close the book and we are into the world of responsibilities, whatever we have, either families and other duties, things are again covered. I mean, because that's the nature of the world. The modes always cover everything. So as long as we are hearing, though, as long as we are internalizing what we are hearing, so the more we'll act also in the same way, even after hearing, even after closing the book. So that's why the Shravanam and Kirtanam, Shravanam especially, the foundation has to be very, very pakka. So of the 9, these 2 are very much emphasized by all the acharyas, Shravanam and Kirtanam. And by strenuously following either all of them or some of them, one can attain perfect plane, absolute plane. Yeah. As was raised by one of the devotees in the last class, the question, why Parikshit Maharaj was only hearing, why he's not just chanting the holy names. So here Prabhupada explains that, of all the 9 processes of the devotional service is the way to get perfection. Either Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, anything, any one of them can give perfection if we are perfected. We have so many examples also for the 9 processes. But yeah, Parikshit Maharaj is the example for hearing Shravanam. And Sukadeva Goswami is for Kirtanam. So any process can give us perfection. That's what the example set by them, 9 processes of devotion service. Okay. Yeah, please read the last part.
Now, one who is actually interested in the Bhagavatam, therefore, must not play with it by reading or hearing a portion from here and portion from there. One must follow in the footsteps of great kings like Maharaj Amrisa or Maharaj Parikshit and hear it from the bona fide representative of Sukadeva Goswami.
So here we need to, it's a very sensitive topic in the sense that we must not play with it by reading here or hearing a portion from here and there. Definitely initial days we can try to hear some which are very much inspiring, some stories from Srimad Bhagavatam. Here Prabhupada is meaning that don't try to extract some mental concoctions or something which is not according to the bhakti process. Yeah, which are not according to bhakti process, especially from persons who are not following the process. We should not hear from them. We should not read those books which are written by those people. Yeah, but let us suppose we are inspired by Dhruva Maharaj, Prahlad Maharaj, or Gajendra, and Krishna, especially when Janmashtami comes, we read Krishna book. Or we read some pastimes from Krishna or Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th canto, or particular pastimes. We can do that, which is very much inspiring from a bona fide persons, reading from Prabhupada books, reading by the acharyas, hearing from bona fide persons. So that can be done, which is inspiring, which may be inspiring individually at different times. But it is recommended always that we go through first 9 cantos and then all the cantos chapter by chapters gradually. But at the same time, sometimes when some festivals comes, Narsimdev, Narsim Chaturdashi or Varaha Dwadashi, or some festivals when they come, Ram Navami, So like that we can try to focus on particular pastimes if you want to, which is inspiring, which is very much relatable. Even certain situations in life also. Particular sections can be taken up, studied, understood, assimilated, so that we are inspired more. That can be done occasionally. But the main point of Prabhupada is don't go beyond the boundary of authoritative presentations. That is the main point. Okay. Text 11. Etannirvidyamānānaṁ iccatāmagato bhayam yoginām nupranirnītam harer nāmānukirtanam. Yeah. Translation.
Constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord after the ways of the great authorities is the doubtless and the fearless way of success for all, including those who are free from all material desires, those who are desirous of all material enjoyment, and also those who are self-satisfied by dint of transcendental knowledge.
Yeah. So this is the concluding verse in the sense that saying this is the process. Etan nirvidyamananam. Nirvidyamananam. Who are these three people? Nirvidyamananam, Prabhupada explains, these are devotees, those who are completely free from all material desires. Ichyatam, those who are desirous of all sorts of material enjoyment. Yoginam, who are self-satisfied. They are neutral. They don't have desires, nor they are attracted to Krishna. For all these people, if they want akuto bhayam, harer namanukirtanam, that has to be done. Who said nirnitam? This is concluded. Nirnay agaya. Nirnitam, decided. So this is the process. Harer namanukirtanam. So that's what Sukadeva Swami is concluding here. He's establishing bhakti. Essence of bhakti. Essence of Srimad Bhagavatam is bhakti, because last verse is saying, I will speak Bhagavatam. Because Bhagavatam says bhakti, the essence. And chanting is the topmost limb of bhakti. Kirtanam. So Shravanam is the foundation for hearing, and the chanting is the main process. Kirtanam. That's what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu established when Sarvam Bhattacharya asked the question of all the 9 processes of devotion service, what is the best? Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentioned Kirtanam is the best. So chanting is Harer Namanu Kirtanam. So that the chanting is the essence of all Kirtanam. So Prabhupada writes about Anukirtanam, how they are established. So here it is mentioned that one should chant constantly. One should constantly chant the holy name of the Lord after hearing it from authorities. This means that hearing from authorities is the first essential. Yeah, that's the main point. The process is recommended not only for the progressive students in different departments of ideological success, but also for those who are already successful in their achievement as putti workers, as philosophers, as devotees of the Lord. So the 3 mentioned, Nirvidyamananam means devotees, Ichyatam, fruity workers, Yoginam, philosophers. So for everyone, it's not only progressive students, even if they achieve success, they also, even if they are successful, for them also it's Hare Naman Kirtan. Not only to get to the goal, but also once you achieve the goal, it is the process. Just like when Prabhupada was asked, what is the goal of your chanting? Prabhupada mentioned, goal of chanting is more chanting. So that's the goal. I mean, our means itself is the goal. Just like a sugarcane example that was given in NY7, what we talked about. Chat Krishna Nama Charitati Sita Apta Vidya Pitto Upatapta Rasanasya Narochikanu. Pitta Upatapta. When pitta increases, bile increases, the jaundice disease comes. So the sugarcane juice is recommended as a medicine. Though it's a medicine, the more we take the medicine, sugarcane juice, though it's very great in taste, it's a nectar for a person who doesn't have any jaundice disease. But a person who has a disease, it's like a bitter karela. It's a juice like a juice of neem leaves. It appears like that for a tongue. But as he keeps on taking it, it appears more and more reachable later on. Even we can experience in a fever, in a feverish condition also, in a very diseased condition, we cannot taste much, even normal items. But as you grow in health, as our health increases, we can again gain the taste. Similarly, these things. So that's just like when we eat gulab jamun, we experience more and more hankering for more gulab jamuns or more sweet, whatever delicacy you like. So similarly, that desire increases more and more. So similarly, spiritual process also. That's the nature of the spiritual activities or limbs. So for that, but we need to follow the process. We need to pay the price. So Prabhupada explains. So the price is to avoid all the offenses and sins that may cover our practice. So these two things we need to be careful about, the sins and offenses in our life, which obstruct the process of devotional service. So Prabhupada focused on 10 offenses to chanting of the holy name very elaborately, because the Kirtanam process is the essence. So what obstructs the Kirtanam process is the offenses. 10 offenses he very much elaborates, very, very, in the footsteps of Yoga Swami, all the 10 offenses explains in detail. Maybe you can go through leisurely, but that is the process of avoiding the offenses is the most important in Kirtanam. Of course, the sins also has to be avoided. That's anyway, as we take up bhakti process, even when we go to initiation, we promise 4 regulative principles. That is the avoiding of sins. Everyone, as a grihasthas or brahmacharis, whoever is following the process. Of course, in Prabhupada times, there were 2 initiation vows. Prabhupada used to ask them to take vows. One for chanting Hare Krishna 16 rounds minimum. He always emphasizes minimum 16 rounds. And then 4 regulative principles. Of course, he has different spiritual masters have different addition of 1 or 2 more vows to the initiation process. Some spiritual masters have the vow of chanting 25 rounds on Ekadashi, reading Prabhupada books also as the process of as the initiation vow. And some spiritual masters has the vow to serve the mission of Prabhupada in the mood of servants, like without offenses, basically. So the spiritual life, chanting 16 rounds is the spiritual activity, chanting 16 rounds, and avoiding the 4 sinful activities. It's like which should not be done, what to do and what not to do. What to do, we have to spiritual activities we have to do. Hearing, chanting about Krishna. What not to do, we should avoid 4 regulative principles. We should follow 4 regulative principles. Means we should avoid all these sinful activities. Also offenses. Yeah. The mood of servant means that we are trying to avoid offenses to everyone. So sins and offenses we need to be guard against, and we need to nourish ourselves. Just like a field, just like a crops. If you have a crop of grapes or apples or whatever, mangoes, anything, any crop, we need to protect it by a boundary, right? We need to have boundary that the animals or any other, even human beings may attack the crop and destroy the crop. And the fence will protect from all the unwanted attacks. It is not just sufficient just to keep the fence for the crop. What else we have to do? for the crop to grow, apart from keeping the fence? Can anyone say? Can I share? Pardon?
What are the plants?
Yeah, it has to be given nourishment. And it has to be, the crop has to be nourished. It has to be given fertilizers, it has to be given khat, they say it in Marathi. Natural fertilizers, natural, whatever fertilizers, especially natural. It has to be nourished basically. Nourishment has to be there and protection has to be there. Both has to be there. So then only the crop will grow nicely. Both has to be there. So for Bhakti Lata to grow, protection has to be there and nourishment has to be there. So the protection happens by avoiding the sins and offenses, and nourishment happens by practicing spiritual life, spiritual activities, 9 limbs of devotional service. Yeah. Text 12. Kim pramattasya bahubhi parakshair ha ayanairiha varam muhurtam viditam gatate shreyase yataha. Please read.
What is the value of a prolonged life which is wasted, inexperienced by years in this world? Better a moment of full consciousness, because that gives one a start in searching after his supreme interest.
Yeah. So here Sukadeva Goswami, now another small section is coming after establishing the bhakti, and he said Bhagavatam is the best and I will speak you Bhagavatam. Parikshit Maharaj was in anxiety. I have only 7 days to live. What will happen? I can't hear. How can I hear whole Bhagavatam? It may be long. Can I hear? That kind of internal insecurity or kind of a fear he was sensing, Sukadeva Goswami. Then Sukadeva Goswami reassuring in these 3 verses. It's not about quantity of life. It's about quality of life, quality of consciousness. Don't worry. Bhakti is topmost, but I have only 7 days to live. That's what Parikshit Maharaj is thinking. Nothing to worry. Masuja is saying, Sukadeva Goswami. That's what Acharya is saying. That he is giving assurance. Masuja. Quality of life. He will give example also. So better a moment of full consciousness, because that gives one a start in searching after the supreme interest. Can you read the highlighted portion?
Srila Sukadev Goswami instructed Maharaj Parikshit about the importance of the chanting of the holy name of the Lord by every progressive gentleman. In order to encourage the king, who had only 7 remaining days of life, Srila Sukadev Goswami asserted that there is no use in living hundreds of years without any knowledge of the problems of life. Better to live for a moment with full consciousness of the supreme interest to be fulfilled.
So here encouraging king, don't worry about 7 days. You have even a moment can be sufficient. He will give an example of some personality later on. So here Parikshit Maharaj is reassured by Sukadeva Goswami by this moment. It's not about quantity, but it's about quality of life. Yeah. Of course, we have 39 verses in the chapter, but later on section that from 25th onwards, it's only mostly of a description of the Lord, universal form, Virat Rupa. It goes much faster. Maybe tomorrow definitely we can complete and then we can start some more verses also in 2nd chapter. But today we'll maybe a little bit going slow, because these verses very much explains about bhakti and establishing the process of what Sukadeva Goswami is saying here. Katvango nama rajarshir jnatve yattam ihayushaha muhutvat sarvam usrujya katavan abhayam harim. Please read.
Hare Krishna.
The saintly king. Yes, Prabhuji, please read.
The saintly king Khatwanga, after being informed that the duration of his life would be only a moment more, at once freed himself from all material activities and took shelter of supreme safety, the personality of Godhead.
So 12 to 14, about we are talking about quality of life matters. What Sukadeva Goswami is reassuring Parikshit Maharaj. He's giving example here. Don't worry. You see example of Katwang Maharaj, who perfected his life in a muhurta. Of course, you might have heard the story of Katwanga Muni. Katwanga Maharaj was a king who was fighting on the behalf of the demigods in the upper planets. When the time came, when the war was over between demigods and demons, and he was supporting demigods, Katwanga Muni asked, they said, you ask a benediction. Katwanga asked, okay, how much time I have now to leave my body? So they said one muhurta. You have only 48 minutes. One muhurta is roughly around 48 minutes. Yeah, 48 minutes. So immediately he left heavenly planets. He came to earth. Of course, the reason is given by acharyas that because the Swargalokas are Bhoga Bhumi. There the enjoyments, distractions are more. So Katwang Maharaj thought it's not a good place to focus on Supreme Lord. Let me go to earth, which is a place of Tapo Bhumi, Karma Bhumi, Tapo Bhumi. So there I can focus on Krishna. So that's what the example I given here, Katwang Maharaj, who perfected his life in 48 minutes, in one moment, one muhurta. So by giving this example, Sukadeva Goswami reassuring Parikshit Maharaj, it's the quality of life matters, not the quantity. So Prabhupada explains the Katwang Maharaj story, how he went to heavenly planets, he fought for them. But at the end, he came back to Tapobhumi, the earthly planets, and he perfected his life. Can you please read the summary? What Prabhupada says.
Maharaj Parikshit was thus encouraged by the great Sukadeva Goswami, even though he had only 7 days left in his life, to execute the prime duty of hearing the glories of the Lord in the form of Srimad Bhagavatam. By the will of the Lord, Maharaj Parikshit instantly met the great Sukadeva Goswami, and the great treasure of spiritual success left by Sukadeva Goswami is nicely mentioned in the Srimad Bhagavatam 1.2.3.
So he was encouraged, Sukadeva Goswami, encouraging Parikshit Maharaj. So yeah, we also need to be convinced. Definitely, we need to be, the sense of urgency has to be there in life. But it is about quality of life that matters than the quantity of life. Tavapyetarhi kauravya saptaham jivitavadihi upakalpaya tatsarvam tavadyat samparayikam. Please read translation.
Maharaj Parikshit, now your duration of life is limited to 7 more days. So during this time, you can perform all those rituals which are needed for the best purpose of your next life.
Yeah. So Prabhupada explains the context of how he has 7 days, how he can perfect the process of devotional service. Text 15. Antakale tu purusha agate gatasad vasaha Indyad sanga shastrena spruham dehe nuye chatam. Yeah, translation.
At the last stage of one's life, one should be bold enough not to be afraid of death, but one must cut off all attachment to the material body and everything pertaining to it and all desires thereof.
Yeah, so here till text 15, 14, Sukadeva Goswami established Bhakti as the essence, Ante Narayana Smriti as the principle. He established Bhagavatam, hearing and glorifying the Lord as the process. And for that, Parikshit Maharaj was a little bit worried, but Sukadeva Goswami reassured, don't worry, you have 7 days, you can perfect your life. Now the topic is changing with seeing that when he established the bhakti and the time required to perfect life is different opinion than others in the audience. Sukadeva Goswami sensed that many are not in favor of that. So now he's trying to establish bhakti in comparison with other processes, especially Ashtanga Yoga. So for the Ashtanga Yoga, this intermediate topic is coming up. But it's not for Parikshit Maharaj. Though he is asking later on, he will ask question also about Ashtanga Yoga, how they have to meditate, how they have to sit, where they have to concentrate. Though he may be asking question, but he is not interested in practicing it. He is just inquiring out of curiosity and for the sake of the establishing bhakti as the final goal later on. For that reason, this topic is coming up from 1539. The next section is about Ashtanga Yoga. What Ashtanga Yoga? Yoga means we know that Ashtanga Yoga, 8 limbs of devotion, 8 limbs of process. Ashta means 8. Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, it has 8 limbs. You might have heard Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayam, Pratyahar, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. So these 8 limbs are there. Of the different limbs will be explained in the later verses by Sukadeva Goswami. So here is just giving a synopsis of that. Yeah, but just I am explaining that this is the Acharyas explained that he will compare the Ashtanga Yoga with Bhakti and he will establish that Bhakti as the superior process than all other processes. But because this topic is coming, because some audience have the opinion or idea that Ashtanga Yoga also can be executed while leaving the body or in general a duty of a person in general also. Of course, we also in experience level also we can understand Ashtanga Yoga cannot be done by a child, right? A child in the womb or a child in who is initially like till the age of 8 or 9. I mean, he cannot concentrate or he cannot sit properly, not to speak of practicing it. Old age people cannot do it. Diseased people cannot do it. So Ashtanga has its own limitations. We can also understand. And the process also itself has a limitation. And the goal itself is also has a limitation of not able to release the supreme most form of the Lord. Yeah, but when it come in touch with those yogis, Ashtanga yogis, when they come in touch with devotees, then definitely there can be a transformation later on. Their goal can be changed or modified or changed. But yeah, as a process, it is not the topmost process. That's what will be established. So these verses. Prabhupada, as I mentioned that Prabhupada will focus on the process of Ashtanga Yoga, how it is not a benefiting process, even in the age of Kali, how bhakti is the topmost, just like he does in Bhagavad Gita. Same thing, same pattern he follows here. He glorifies bhakti. He brings in bhakti always. So that's the main thing. So he does that. Text 16. Grahat parivrjato dhira punyatirtha jalaplutah suchau viviktasino vidivat kalpitasane. Yeah, please read.
One should leave home and practice self-control. In a second place, we should bathe regularly, sit down in a lonely place, lively and sanctified.
Yeah. So one should leave home. Initially, the first verse said that about a detachment. One should be detached from the place. Asanga shastrena. That was explained. Prabhupada also says here, Asanga shastrena spruham chindyad. Slash the desires by weapon of detachment. So the verse itself is saying that one should be detached from all the material desires and one should go to forest. That's what first step of Ashtanga Yoga. Chindyad Asanga shastrena. This also comes in Bhagavad Gita 15th chapter. You might have read and heard and remembering you might be. That verse, first verse of 15th chapter, it says, Asanga shastrena dhrudena chitva. By determination, one should cut off the roots of a tree, of banyan tree. Ashwattamelam savirudhamulam asanga shastrena dhrudena chitva. So this is the process for everyone, not only for bhakti yogis, also for all other process also. One should have, especially for other processes, the yoga and jnana processes, they should have complete detachment from the world, complete detachment from material desires. But bhakti has a quite a unique qualification. Krishna explains in the 11th chapter, Bhagavad Gita. The qualification, one is not too detached nor too attached. They are qualified for bhakti. I mean, they may have some desires to enjoy the world. They are not too attached, not too detached. So they are also qualified. They are also qualified. They are qualified for bhakti. That's what Krishna explains in 11th canto. So one may not be disappointed, or I don't have too much of detachment from the world. I don't have too much of renunciation from the worldly desires. I have so many desires, material desires. So one should not be disappointed by that. But one should take up bhakti with more seriousness, then definitely bhakti will purify everything. So that's why the verse says, akama sarva kama va moksha kama dharati tivrena bhakti yogena yete purushapa. So for bhakti, one should not be too much worried that one has so much of attachment to material desires. I have this many desires. I am not too detached from the world and family and relations and all. No, it's not a qualification for bhakti. But for yoga and jnana, yeah, one should take sannyas. There is no question of any leniency in those paths. One should be sannyasi to practice yoga, especially advanced yogis, Ashtanga yogis. After pratyahar, we'll come to the limbs. After pratyahar, after initial neophyte stage, one should give up the family and one should go to the forest, and even jnana also. Jnani people, jnana, if you have to start with study of Vedanta, one has to be a sannyasi. There is no question of any leniency in that. But bhakti has that's why the second verse of Shikshastakam says that your dear Lord, you are so kind. There are not hard and fast rules for chanting holy names. So that's the beauty of the process itself. It's a simple process, but it's a very powerful and effective process. That's the glory of bhakti. That's what is establishing that these people are Ashtanga yoga. Those who want to practice, they have to leave the home by detachment, leave the home, go to forest, yama and niyama, do's and don'ts, and sitting in a proper postures in a sacred place. They have to practice all these things. So of course, Prabhupada brings out the futility of this yoga practice in modern civilization. How people are just wasting their time in so-called postures. The principle is that one should take it for granted that the death warning is already there, even prior to the attainment of 50 years of age. Thus, at any stage of life, one should prepare himself for a better next life. The system of Sanatana Dharma institution is so made that the follower is trained for the better next life without any chance that human life will be spoiled. Yeah, Prabhupada bringing out the point, don't waste time. He always brings out the essence. Though the text is speaking about yoga and should go to forest, Prabhupada is bringing out the principle that don't stick to all the material enjoyment till the fag end of life. Take to the process of Sanatana Dharma and to prepare for next life. So if you are ready for retirement, then Prabhupada is mentioning that you should go to holy places, reside there, and prepare for next life. And holy places, because forest came here in the verse, one should go to forest. Prabhupada is bringing out that context of what is meant by forest in the modern scenario. Forest means we can go to holy places. Holy places, what is purpose of the holy place, what is not the purpose of the holy place, Prabhupada explains here. One should not, however, become self-complacent simply by leaving home or by creating another home at a holy place, either lawfully or unlawfully. Yeah. In the name of going to holy places, especially sadhus or brahmacharis, they should not create another kind of sense enjoyment at another place in the name of spiritual progress. Prabhupada establishes that bhakti is the ultimate process. The method is that one should have a duly sanctified sitting place made of straw, day skin, and carpet, and thus sitting on it, one should chant the holy name of the Lord without offense, as prescribed above. The whole process is to drag the mind from material engagements and fix it on the lotus feet of the Lord. This simple process alone will help one advance to the highest stage of spiritual success. Yeah, we all do all these things for one thing, to keep the mind on the higher purpose of life. Either one is leaving material desires, cutting off all the material entanglements, relations, going to forest, sitting in a proper posture. All these are all just to bring the mind in control and to keep it on a higher object. That's the main process of yoga. What is that higher object? We will see in the later verses. Of course, Prabhupada gives here conclusion that we should chant the holy name. That is the bhakti process. That is easy and perfect process. Text 17. Abhyasen manasa shuddham tivrit brahmaksharam param mano yacche jitasvaso brahma bijam avismaran. Yeah.
After sitting in the above manner, make the mind remember the three transcendental letters, Om, and by regulating the breathing process, control the mind so as not to forget the transcendental seed.
Yeah. So here the process of yoga is mentioned. Yama, Niyama, Asana are over. Now pranayama, fourth limb of Ashtanga Yoga. 8 limbs of bhakti. Sorry, 8 limbs of yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, not bhakti. So pranayam, we all hear, you might have heard many times, asanas and pranayams are very famous. Yoga means people generally understand this third limb and fourth limb, asana and pranayam. That's it. That's what is advertised by all the yoga studios, because people want some kind of a process, and they also offer some kind of process, some mixed, some cheating kind of process, asana and pranayam. Because they give experience of asanas and pranayam immediately on the body and mind, because they experience immediately these effects by pranayam. One definitely have peaceful mind. Even devotees also recommend before chanting, one does a few times pranayam to calm the mind, asanas to keep up the body. Definitely we can utilize it if it is fitting into our schedule. But not too much we focus on. Our goal is not Ashtanga Yoga. That has to be clear. Our goal, our process is Navvida Bhakti. If at all, if these are elements are helping us in keeping up our physical and mental body, we can take particular little bit of time to do that. But it is not our goal to keep focus on them. That's the main point. So Prabhupada explains here, Prabhupada comes to chanting the holy names again after explaining about Omkara, what is the position of Omkara, what is the... Prabhupada explains, even Krishna explains in Bhagavad Gita, Pranava is, I am the Pranava of all the mantras. So Prabhupada explained the meaning of the Pranava mantra. So, but one who is unable to accommodate such personal features of the Absolute is disciplined in impersonality to train the mind to make further progress. Yeah, Prabhupada comes to the same text, what the section is saying here. If one is not able to focus on Absolute personality, he is unable to meditate on the personality of the Lord, he is unable to accept the personality of the Lord. Yeah, he can meditate on Omkara, he can meditate on impersonal features of the Lord. That's what is establishing here. Okay, we'll pause here. We have 3-4 minutes to go. If you have any question, or if you have any clarification, or if you want to share something, your own reflection, your own understanding, maybe you can have 2-3 minutes, 4-5 minutes. Anyone has any question? Okay, if we have no question, maybe we'll cover 1 or 2 verses. Niyachet vishabhyokshan manasa buddhi saradhi manah karmabir akshiptam shubhardhe dharaye dhiya. Please read.
Gradually, as the mind becomes progressively spiritualized, with the withdraw its from sense activities, and by intelligence the senses will be controlled. The mind, too absorbed in material activities, can be engaged in the service of the personality of Godhead and becomes fixed in full transcendental consciousness.
Now, all the limbs are being described here. Now, this verse is describing from pratyahar and dharana. Pratyahar means you control your senses. Pratyahar, ahar. Ahar means eating, food. Food not only for the tongue, mouth, food for all the senses. Pratyahara. We need to restrain the food for all the senses. Different senses have different foods. Eyes, ears. I mean, you all know. You all read and NOI. We read all the verses. So pratyahara means you control the senses. You restrain the food for different senses. Withdraw it from sense activities, sense objects. That is the pratyahara. By that we control the mind, we regulate the mind, because mind is the central object of all the senses, which is agitated by the senses, especially the knowledge acquiring senses and acting senses. So that has to be controlled by controlling the senses. But also Krishna also establishes these facts in Gita 2nd chapter. Indriyani samyamya manohridi nivrittya tasmad indriyanyadau. First control the senses. So that is a one way of controlling. Just like fasting days. The moment we start giving food to the stomach, the moment we experience some kind of at least pacification of all the senses. So these are all different processes, mechanical processes to control the mind. And this is good in a neophyte stage, in a conditioned stage, to control the senses and mind. And then dharana. Dharana means we have to have some positive object to focus on. Just like protection, we have fence, and for nourishment, and we have another thing. Similarly, not just having a sense control is a goal, but to focus on a positive object is the process. The yoga also goes in the same lines. Dharana means you need to have a particular object to focus on. So here, yogis may have, here Sukadeva Swami will explain what exactly the object of dharana ashraya, what is the object of dharana, will be coming in the future verses. But here Prabhupada explained that dharana should end in fixing in transcendental consciousness on the personality of Godhead or service of the personality of Godhead. Yeah. So that should come to the dharana stage. Experience has proven that even samadhi stage also fails to control the materially absorbed mind. Yeah. Those who are practicing here, he is giving example of Vishwamitra Muni. Though he was in samadhi, but still he was agitated by the senses. He was deviated from the process, distracted from the process of yoga many times, at least 2-3 times. One time by anger, one time by attraction. So, yeah, Prabhupada is mentioning the futility of the yoga process, that it may distract us even one is in samadhi. So one has to have a proper object, a spiritual object as the meditation, for meditation, dharana. That is the Supreme Lord. That is the form of the Lord. It will come in the future, but next chapter. Second chapter talks about meditation on the form of the Lord. Okay, we pause here for today. It's already 4:32. So tomorrow we'll continue with the section where we are discussing of Ashtanga Yoga, and then we conclude with meditation on the Virat Rupa for a neophyte yogi. So we have seen today how bhakti is the topmost process, and especially Hare Namanu Kirtanam is the essence, by followed by all, has to be is recommended for all by Sukadeva Swami. And then next section is described about it's a quality matters, not the quantity of life. Maharaj Katwanga Muni was given example, and the process of Ashtanga Yoga started. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna, for your patient hearing and enthusiastic participation. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
Thank you, Vaishnavas.